be talking about selling SEO using SEO sales support. We're going to be talking about how you guys can build your businesses around it. And we're going to be talking specifically about how to pitch this, how to open, how to close, how to go through the process of using SEO sales support and carrying the deal over the finish line. Because, guys, it's such a simple thing. With the fact that we have this facility with SEO sales support to help you to go through the sales process, all you have to do is be an effective opener. You don't even have to be an effective closer. And it's so crucial that each and every one of you, and I'm talking mostly to the people that are on this call that haven't closed an SEO deal yet. You know, a lot of you on here are in version 3.0 and you're not using SEO sales support. Maybe you're intimidated by opening. Maybe you're not making enough calls. Maybe you don't know what to do when you get on calls. Maybe, it's something that's foreign to you. Any case, we're going to go through this. We're going to talk about exactly what you need to do. So to start, why SEO? Why exactly is this a service that, is such a meaningful, usable, functional, high profit service in our opinion? Well, there's a bunch of reasons. First of all, this is a recurring revenue service. When we talk about SEO, we're talking about you guys building a book of business. The great thing about an SEO campaign, why you should sell it, it's this. You sell somebody, there's a high ticket price very often right up front, depending upon how you decide to sell it, whether you charge an implementation fee, whether you have a first month sort of upfront fee, however you're deciding to sell it. It's a service that right off the bat should pay you, a pretty decent chunk of change, right? So that makes it a wonderful, wonderful service right there. But then you have that it's a recurring service. And if you do a good job, and I know you will because our SEO is high ROI, you're going to have that person pay for many months and maybe even many years. Many cases, SEO campaigns, I know people have campaigns they've run for 5, 6, 7, 10 years with the same client. If you're bringing them in money and you're showing them the return on their investment, there's no reason in the world that they should ever, go ahead and cancel. So it's a really solid, almost rock solid recurring revenue service. It's also very needed. When you look at businesses today, and I'm going to show you guys some stats, you're going to see really, really clearly why SEO is needed. It's a service that, as competition has, started off on the web on a global basis, then it was a national basis. Now we're right down where, two businesses in the same town are fighting online for market share. So it's very, very needed. It's an easy sale. We're closing for you. So it's an ideal service for anybody on here who hasn't sold, or isn't selling a lot of deals lately, to go in and focus on, because all you have to do, find a prospect, and the prospect could be any type of business, no limit, could be a local business, regional, national, it could be any business. Get them on the phone, connected up with sales support, bill them. That's it. It's very, very, very easy to do. And it's a very, very stable business you're going to build with SEO as your basis. This is one of our flagship services. Many people on this call have been with us for many years selling websites. SEO is the next logical extension because you can go back to your entire book of business, everybody you've sold the site to, and go back and sell them an SEO campaign. If they trusted you to build it, they'll trust you to promote it. So it's a very natural, sort of logical extension. It's something that, absolutely anyone can do. Now let's take a look at some statistics. These are just some key statistics. There's many, many stats I could have grabbed and pulled from, but these stats here really stand out and really showcase, very clearly exactly why SEO is so needed. And this is these are things that you can put in your hat and pull out and, utilize in your pitch when you're talking to people about SEO. This stuff really is useful. 80 to 90% of clicks on Google are organic search results. So even pay-per-click, right? Way less clicks than organic results. And you guys know this yourself. When you're out there and, you're going on Google and you're doing searches, that organics are, really where the action is for yourself. 84% of searchers skip paid ads and click on organic results. Right in line with the first statistic. 90% of people never scroll to page 2. And this is crucial because, some business owners, right? Particularly the old school type of business owners that really aren't up on the web too much, they might not understand why ranking is so important. But just about anybody you talk to that has a smartphone or uses the internet, which nowadays it's like 85%, I think, of all society, they understand right away. You're not on page one. You're not getting anybody visiting you. You're not getting clicks. You're not getting market share. You're not getting anything. 61% of clicks go to the top 3 organic listings. So you want to rank. You want to be in the top 3 slots. Now, 33% of clicks go to the number 1 organic position. So when you think about this and you add these stats up, just at these 5 statistics we've got here, this really tells you a lot. That's why these are so important to memorize. You don't even have to really memorize them, but keep them around. Use these stats. And these are in presentations that you all have access to as well, where you can go and you can take a look at them and utilize these results utilize these statistics in your pitch. Now, going forward here, let's talk about the thing that you need to do. You guys need to become masters at opening. You don't need to become master closers to sell SEO and to build a business with us. Not at all. You absolutely do not need to be the master closer. What you need to be a master at is starting conversations. And that's the simplest thing of all. It really is so easy. And how can you start a conversation? I've been asked so many times through the years by so many different people, Jake, how do I start a conversation? What can I do? And I've given you guys a lot of different marketing methodologies: knocking doors, calling on the phone, going and building local partnerships, going and building channel partnerships, getting people that are sort of fronters for you, building a sales force that does all these things for you. But the fact is, you have these at your disposal. And just about any single individual with a phone line can be productive these days. We have so many resources at our fingertips when it comes to different local organizations and meetings and businesses. You can call, you can solicit, you can get out there. If you want them, you can get leads. Now, how much do you have to work? How much do you have to do this? A lot of people ask me, they say, well, I worked real hard this week, Jake. And I'll be like, oh, how hard did you work? And, this person will tell me, well, I worked 2 whole hours. Well, you're never going to get anywhere. You have to work as much as is needed. This is a business you've opened, right? You're in business. Your output is commensurate to your input. So if you put in very little, you're going to get out very little. Now, I'm not saying you have to work incredibly hard. There's about 1 million other professions that have to work way harder than we do for way less results. And honestly, we should all, feel something for them, because these are people who don't understand, their time is their life and their value, right? You do need to work. You need to get on the phone. You need to call people. You need to knock doors. You need to do whatever you need to do. And you have to do it as often as necessary, because if you don't, well, you're kind of wasting your own time. You're never, ever, ever going to close if you don't try. And it's exactly what I said right here. Profit is proportional to the work you put in. And that is an absolute fact. I can promise each and every one of you, individually and collectively, your work that you put in will be commensurate with the profit you get out. So let's talk about cold calling. Now, when it comes to cold calling, it comes to any form of marketing, there's a stylistic element to what you're going to be doing, right? Because I'm going to talk to you about 2 types of marketing that anybody can perform, right? Cold calling, just about anybody can do this, right? It's hello, my name is, and just walk into it. I'm going to give you a few tips here that I know are, incredibly effective. We talk about this, right? I said it's a stylistic kind of a thing. And what I mean by that is that what you're doing is you have to blend and learn and become a student of your craft, right? The first time I cold called, I was horrible at it, right? I just took a script, read it verbatim, terrible. Then, a couple days into doing this as a job many years ago, I realized the script doesn't really matter. What I have to do is I have an objective. My objective is what matters. The script is kind of like a template, a guide to give me some rough tips, right? What's going to do it for me is if I could take that script and if I can learn where I'm doing it wrong, where I could improve and do it right, and I adapt this and I become a master at making these calls and just look at it like a numbers game. And there's a few tips here that really will help you out. One is to embrace rejection and chase no's, not yeses. This is an old trick, but it's very important. When you have a phone room and you're running a whole bunch of people on the phones, one of the things you want to do if they're cold calling is to tell them to chase no's. And what you mean by that is you tell them, look, come back to me when you have 15 no's, because I guarantee you, if you chase the no's where 15 different people told you no, statistically speaking, that means 3 people said yes, right? And that's just a statistic I'm pulling out of the air right now because it varies by industry. My point is, If you give yourself that goal, like I'm going to make the calls today and I'm going to call until X amount of people tell me no, well, then I know I've worked hard enough to have gotten, statistically speaking, a whole bunch of yeses, no matter how good I'm doing. There's a few tips to increase the odds or to sort of tilt them in your favor, right? Smile and dial. You've heard it before, right? There's some truth to that. When people are smiling, they talk differently. Their tone of voice goes up. They sound like they're happier and they're more able to connect with others. It's a proven technique, small technique, not a huge one, but very, very beneficial when you're working off of the statistical sort of method of cold calling, where you're going to put the numbers up, where you say to yourself, I'm going to put up or shut up. I'm going to get on the phone. I'm going to dial until I get myself some prospects. Smile and dial can help. Standing up can help. Walking around with your phone. At one point, I was a sales manager for a company, and it was in the tech sector. And basically what I did was I used to be on the phone all day long. And I was one of the first guys to switch from having, like the old timers would sit at their desk and they'd have the phone in their hand and they'd punch dial. And then they switched to more automated systems, predictive. Well, what I said was, I'm going to get a headset. And this is when they weren't very popular yet. Got a headset and used that. Immediately I was better because I could move around. I wasn't hunched over a chair all day, like guzzling coffee and rotting and sitting on the phone. So getting up, moving around. Photo method, right? Having a pretend audience. This is a method that I've seen used for years by a lot of people. And it's a really simple method. You basically just have to get some photographs of some friends, family members, etc., and put them on your desk. It seems like it's a really cheesy thing, but guess what? It works. It helps you to have an audience, to be surrounded sort of almost metaphorically by people who you care about and you like, even though you're talking to people that you might not like talking to so much. Short bursting sentences as opposed to dribble talk. You don't want to get on the phone when you're cold calling and, sit there and just, mumble through a whole bunch of stuff and have the person not really understand you, because that's what a lot of telemarketers do. You get on the phone, telemarketer calls up, hi, is so-and-so there? Well, I'd like to talk to you about fixed rate annuities, blah, blah, blah. You don't need that, right? You want to give clear, concise messages, right? You get on the phone, you have something valuable to say, you say it, and you go to silence. Say it and listen. Don't dribble talk. Now let's go to a next methodology, and I'm going to go through a script with you in a bit on this note, but let's talk about door knocking next, right? Door knocking and cold calling, I would do both, honestly. If I was in the shoes that you guys are in, and I'm building an agency and I want to get my book of business built out, I would door knock and I would cold call. And I would event market, and I would do a lot of the other things that I tell you guys to do and I advise you to do, that some of you do and you're successful and others don't. And then they ask me why they're not closing. Well, you have to put yourself out there. Door knocking is just another way. Door knocking is many orders of magnitude, in my opinion, orders of magnitude more effective than cold calling, right? But I'm not saying that you're going to sell more door knocking, because door knocking is slower. So you might be able to knock 5 doors in the time you could make 20 phone calls, right? And you can't knock doors continuously because you'll exhaust the real estate within a given proximity of where you're driving around, and you'll end up having to go further to knock doors. So door knocking is finite resource, right? Most of you are not going to drive 80 miles out, but most of you are also in metropolitan areas where you could knock doors all day, every day for quite a long time before you exhaust that resource too. So door knocking slower, but people can't hang up on a handshake, and they're far more receptive to a marketer that's there in person talking to them than they are, a remote person on the phone. Could be a scammer, could be a scheme, could be a huckster. You could be anything when you're on the phone to somebody. In person, it's a little bit more, you are what they see in front of them, right? So they're going to be much more receptive to talking to you. And there's a few key things there, right? It's all about, hello, my name is, and talk, right? There's no real script to it. Although I'm going to go through it, SEO short pitch in a little bit. There's no real script to it. You introduce yourself. You talk about your agency. You do a little bit of research. Say I'm going to knock 5 businesses' doors. I'm going to research them. I'm going to pull them up on my smartphone, look at, who these businesses are, what they do, get a little basic information, go up and knock the door, right? Start, leave my card, see if I can get some time with management or whoever is the person that I'm looking for to talk to, right? I'm aiming to build a relationship, because on the initial door knock, I'm not pitching anybody, right, per se. But what I am doing is I'm setting appointments. I'm building relationships. I'm introducing myself. I'm introducing my company. I'm introducing what we can do. I'm there to get my point across and get out. The next time around, when I call that business up and 3 days later or a week down the road, if I knock a door and I call them up, they're probably going to take my call. They're probably going to talk to me. And even if they're unfriendly, or not receptive, I shouldn't say unfriendly because almost nobody's going to be unfriendly. But if they're not receptive to what I'm talking about, they're still not going to hang right up on me. They're going to talk to me a little bit. But a lot of them are going to take my demonstration calls, is my point to you guys. If I'm selling SEO and I've shown up at that business and said, hey, I saw your website. I just noticed you guys aren't ranking too well. Not to knock anybody here, but I own a company. We do SEO. And I just thought I'd personally drop in and give you a visit and just, give you my card. And maybe we could set up a time and I could talk to you about things. A lot of them are going to take the appointment. And a lot of them are going to get on and do demonstrations. And that means a lot of them are going to end up becoming your clients. Keep that in mind. Now let's go over some key talking points here, right? Because there's a bunch of key points about SEO. Number one, you got to have your statistics at hand. When you're going to talk to somebody about SEO and you're going to talk about how it matters, you have your statistics, and like some of those stats I showed you before, it lends tremendous credibility to your conversation, right? When you're talking about the stats, about page 1, that only like 10% of people advance on to actually click anything past page 1. It's a 90-10 game. You're either in that 90% that are on page 1 or you're 10% back down there in search. Those things lend credibility, especially when you cite the sources. The sources will be places like Google and Microsoft and so on and so forth. Individualizing things, right? Talk about that business. Talk about what you can do for them. That, hey, do you realize if you're, getting 5 web sales a month at your, restaurant, for example, or let's say it's 5 a week and you're on page 3, that means that it's like something like 50. If I can get you to page 1, could you stand, you could sit there and just do the basic math. Now, maybe they tell you, yeah, those 5 are worth, I don't know, $50 for each to my business. Okay, so there's 250. So if we can take that 250 and turn that into 2,500, do you think that would be worth it for your business to run a campaign with me that's $2,000 a month? What business in their right mind isn't going to say, hey, we're going to bill you $2,000 and we're going to give you $10,000, right? Individualize the stats, take the math, play with it, get them thinking, right? Depersonalize the objections. And this is something that's really important. And I'll talk about this in just a second, but depersonalizing objections, personalizing the risks, right? So when they say, well, I really don't think I need SEO, you could say, yeah, look, I understand how you feel. A lot of people out of businesses just like yours don't feel that way. But when they learn about these stats and how much profit they can make, wow, they really were happy they heard from me. That's the feel, felt, found principle. And in the opposite of that, right, that depersonalization of objections is the personalization of risks. Like when you tell the business, for example, hey, you're on page 2 now, you're getting almost no business. When you're on page 3, you could be getting 0 business. Right? When you personalize the risks, you talk about how times are changing, businesses and competition are shifting online, and there's so much more at risk now. When you do that, you're triggering them to think. They're going to listen more intently to you. The goal here, remember, guys, is not to sell them on it. When I'm talking about SEO talking points, I'm just talking about you having a conversation to get this person interested enough to just get on a phone call at a later date with you where you bring in sales support. They do all the closing. You do the billing and the profiting, right? Your job's to, bill them and profit. We'll do the closing for you. So keep that in mind. The feel, felt, found principle is incredibly helpful, not just as a closing technique. And I know many of you saw me do the presentation because it is. It's a general sales technique used all the time to basically depersonalize objections and make people feel comfortable with hearing you out, hearing you pitch more so. Now, Let's talk about getting past gatekeepers, because I get a lot of questions about this, right? There's a few points here. There's lots of ways you get past gatekeepers. Those of you who have any kind of a basic sales background, you understand that, right? There's a few things people get wrong, and I'm not going to get into the negativity of it, but here's the deal. Aim for the owners, not the managers. When you get on the phone and you're, trying to talk your way through, most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, the owner's who you want to talk to, not the daytime manager, not the shift manager. You want to talk to that owner. So you get on there, you aim for the owner, and you try to get them to talk to you. Many times they will, sometimes they won't. But if they will, you stand a much better chance of booking a meaningful appointment, because you do not want to wind up booking appointments with people that are gatekeepers, not the people who can actually make decisions. So always shoot for the highest level management you know of, or ownership ideally. Always be respectful of gatekeepers. Big mistake a lot of people make is they'll be disrespectful to the secretary, disrespectful to, whomever it is they feel is in between them and their money, their sale. You don't be that way. Always be very respectful. Treat them, with respect. I'll tell you a story. There was this one business I called up a whole bunch of times, and there was a secretary, and she was a tough lady, right? But she was fair, and, she was a nice lady. I had to call this business repeatedly, something like 5 or 6 times. Well, in between time 1 and time 3, I learned the secretary's name. And when I called up, I would start talking to her, right? I started talking with the secretary. And I don't know, I think I called back 3 times after that initial time, the time where I let her know I knew her name, because I'd spoken to her before. She told me, yeah, I'll let you talk to so-and-so. And I said, oh, why is that? She said, well, you bothered to learn my name. You're the first respectful person that's called this office. Everybody else just calls me, honey or sweetie or something like that, something disrespectful, right? People were very disrespectful, this lady. And I was just showing courteousness, right? It wasn't like I was personalizing or anything like that. I was just showing respect. Just showing respect to gatekeepers can many times get you so much further, because you have no idea how bad other people behave, right? When you deal with people in customer support, you do get an idea. Ethics matters, right? Or personalizing everything, don't be a huckster. Ethics really, really matters as well, right? Make sure that you're always respectful of everybody. You're always, it's not being superficial and glib and stuff like that, but it's about having, the integrity to always try to be forthright with the people that you're dealing with when you're dealing with gatekeepers, because remember their job, right? Somebody who is an effective gatekeeper, they're there to not have their boss's time wasted. So they're not going to put their boss on with somebody they view as, an idiot, basically, right? Somebody who's acting in a crazy way or disrespectful, rude manner. They're going to put through somebody that they think of as being, a good individual, somebody ethical and decent, right? Always listen and learn. Pay very close attention. Big mistake salespeople make is not listening, just rambling and over talking people. You see it all the time. Those of you who are on this call, you've dealt with salespeople before where they're just rambling, talking over you. Car salespeople, notorious for it. It's awful. Where you're trying to, maybe learn about a vehicle or hear about financing or something. And they've got it made up in their mind that they know your objection, and they're just going to push this deal on you. And then they push you until you're like, no, and you mean it, and you walk. I've done that before. I know a lot of people that have done that before. Say, do not be a pushy salesperson. Listen intently. You can pick things up other people don't pick up, and oftentimes isolate objections before they're even verbalized. Do your research. Coming off as informed really matters with gatekeepers and with prospects in general. When you call up about a business, if you pronounce the business's name wrong, you don't know the products, you don't understand, if you just don't know anything because you did no research, you're not getting that sale. You're not going to get through to anybody that way. Urgency, creating urgent situations. And this is an art form, really, but creating urgent situations can be everything from, in the context of our business and search, could be talking about problem with the website, something I saw that's bad online, issue with your reputation online, could be anything. Anything can create urgency. You have to be creative with it. But the point is to create that sense of urgency that ultimately leads to you, getting through the gatekeeper, moving on to get a sale. Value. I think each and every one of you should value yourselves. You should value your agencies. You should value the time of your prospect and realize that what you're offering somebody is valuable. And I sometimes think that may be, one of the problems people have is not realizing that what we're selling here is incredibly valuable stuff. It's not like you could go in any old town in any old part of the country and find a comparable solution. The solutions we sell here have real ROI, and they can bring substantive benefits to businesses that are, many cases either on the brink or may find themselves facing problems someday. We can protect them. And that's not just for SEO, but SEO is a great service for you to start with, because every business you sell SEO to, the odds of you selling them all the other services go up and up and up from there down the line. Now, we're going to go through something called the elevator pitch. And this is a very important quick pitch where we're going to walk through and we're going to talk about, a script, just an example pitch, right, guys, that you can go ahead and you can utilize. All right, I'll just read this to you. Hello, my name is Jake. I'm calling because I ran a report on your company and noticed that you're being outranked on Google by your competitors. You're leaving a lot of money on the table, and we wanted to help you dominate your local market. If you aren't showing up on the first page of Google search results, you're missing out on 80 to 90% of the traffic and leads you could be getting. There is more visible businesses. The more visible your business is online, the more potential customers you'll reach. And that is the value of SEO. I wanted to get you on a call with one of my SEO specialists. How does today 3 p.m. sound? And you can replace that with any time. He will explain in detail how we can take your business to the next level. This is a quick elevator pitch, right? It could be modified 500 ways. It could be changed, could be rewritten, could be torn down and completely reconstituted. But the point is, this is a simple little pitch. That's enough, combined with a telephone and the internet to do a search, to give me prospects for virtually forever, right? That's all you really need. You just need a quick pitch to hop on, get on the phone, call, lay it out there. Now I'll go through. There's another one here I'm going to go through as well. Because these pitches, they're very simple, right? This is an even more simplified elevator pitch, right? The elevator pitch, outline of successful fast pitching. SEO is the work that goes into your website to build relevance and trust so that it ranks on the first page of Google. That's what SEO is. Very quick definition. Relevance plus trust equals the best answer for page 1 rankings. Again, very simple reiteration of what's at the top. The reason this is so important, in other words, why does it matter? Why does it matter that I have a page 1 ranking? Assume I'm ignorant and I don't know. Well, it matters because organic listings receive 80 to 90% of the clicks on Google, and less than 10% of people ever scroll to page 2. So this right here, this is not in a pitch format, but what it is it's part of the elevator pitch, in that these are the bare essentials that you need to have to be able to go and to pitch somebody. You can build your own pitch off of this. Right? You have the definition of SEO at the top, an even shorter definition, then the 2 main statistics of why SEO is so important. Now at the bottom here, it says that means if you aren't showing up on the first page of Google search results, you're missing out on 80 to 90% of the traffic and leads you could be getting. The more visible your business is online, the more potential customers you reach, and that is the value of SEO. And again, it's just part of the original elevator pitch. But the point is, guys, you can write yourself, you could take, either of these incredibly simplified pitches, and you can modify them to go ahead and to, form the basis of the pitch for you, for your salespeople, for your business, and you can make a lot of money doing it. Now, moving on here. Let's talk about booking appointments for a moment, because this is the next, pretty important topic. What about booking appointments? There's 4 main points, right, that you need to get down we talk about booking an appointment. I'm going to go through these, and we're going to talk about some tips and tricks to this. But the first thing is you have to pin people down. If you don't pin people down when it comes to booking an appointment, a lot of the times they'll yes you to death, hang up, and then they're gone. So what do I do when I get somebody on the phone and I give them my elevator pitch and they're interested? I make sure I say to them something like, okay, Kim, John, Jim, James, Sandy, whoever, let's make sure that we're on the same page. On such and such a date at such and such a time, we're going to get on. I'm going to call you up and make sure that there's clarity there, that they understand, yes, that is the time. Always double confirm. Ask them. I'm going to ask that you put that in your calendar because I'm going to put it in mine because this is really, really important. Then I'm going to call you beforehand to confirm. They'll usually say, yeah, absolutely. So what I try to do is I'm trying to get this person, and I'm going to move on to the next slide where we go into some tips of this. I'm always making sure that I'm calling and confirming and emailing and confirming. And I'm always confirming on the phone. So I confirm on the phone. I let them know it's important. I ask them that they'll definitely be there. They say yes. Then after my phone call's over with them, all right, I hang up and I'm got my meeting scheduled either for later that day, the next day, maybe 2 days later. I don't like to book appointments too far out. Then I go ahead and I'll always email and I'll always call to confirm. And even if I call to confirm and the meeting is like in 1 hour, I'll usually call an hour beforehand just to double confirm, right? To remind them, hey, we're on in an hour. I just want you to know I've got my SEO specialist here. We're ready to go in an hour, right? Yes. Always do that. Always double, triple, quadruple confirm, right? So it's intro, pitch, set. Intro, pitch, set. That's the way it works. You introduce yourself. You gave your pitch, your elevator pitch. You set the appointment. Set one, when would be a good time? Would X be a good time for you? Meaning would 3 o'clock be a good time? That's like an assumptive close on the set. When would be a good time? It's open-ended. When would be a good time? It's probably not as good as would X be a good time, but then you can always phrase it a different way. Do you think X will work for us to talk? That's how I begin my sets. Then we go to confirmation, of course. So always in that order, setting and then confirming. Now, let's talk about sales support because this is really, really important, guys, that you understand what you've got in sales support. I think a lot of you guys don't understand what's been put together for you, the resource that you have at your disposal. What we do and how to utilize sales support. Sales support, you have at your resource a dedicated team of salespeople that are at your beck and call. It's almost like a permanent sales force. You don't need a sales force. All you need is people to generate leads, and you've got your sales force of people. The great thing is you don't even have to pay them a commission. Their job is to close for you, help you out, go through the process, and then get out of there and let you go and profit and make money. So sales support works so easily. It's just absolutely so simple. You set your appointments with your prospects. You contact support. You contact Rocket Driver support. You check with us. You say, tell us the story. Let us know, hey, I've got a meeting tomorrow at X time, right? The story is I spoke to this prospect. We talked about SEO. I talked to them. I qualified them. I think they can handle a deal up to $4,000. Just as an example, right? You could have thrown that out there. 4,000, 100, 1,500, 500, whatever it is. If you talk money with this prospect, let us know. Tell our salespeople because they're going to get on the phone. And the more informed they are about this prospect and about the situation, the better. So give us the story. Send an email over. Let us know when you need somebody on. Give us the story. We'll get our people on the phone with you and with your prospect. We'll close it out. You bill the client. They're not our client. Understand that. I think there may have been, I don't think there's been anybody, no one's confused here about that, right? You understand, we don't bill the client. Right? These are your client. We help close the deal. The money is made by you, right? You're making money. Well, technically, we're both making money because, your client's our client in this relationship we have as your white label wholesaler. But the point is, you get to get that client's money. you get to close them out and get paid. Now, let's talk about an action plan. And I did these slides, a couple of them a little while ago. I did a little tweaking on them, but basically, guys, every one of you needs to have your own plan. Everybody has to have a plan for their business. I think that if you don't have a plan for your business, if you're not waking up every day, pursuing goals, then you're probably pretty lost. And I think each and every one of you should have a plan. You should set yourself some realistic goals and some ambitious goals. Realistic can be ambitious, right? Avoid all your distractions. Keep yourself focused. Remember where action begins. It begins in your mind, right? If you're not dreaming and thinking about your future and thinking about your agency and growing it, what are you thinking about, right? Put your plan to paper. Get your plan written down. Say to yourself, in a year, I want to be making $500,000. Let's say that could be one of your goals, right? And you could break it down. You could say, okay, I don't want to be making 500,000. I just want to be making 10,000 a month, right? You could set yourself a much smaller goal. Doesn't really matter what the goal is. What matters is you give yourself your goal, your financial goals, your business goals, your life goals. Put them to paper, because when you have your goals written down on paper, guys, then you have something that you can reference. If you don't have goals on paper, well, then your goals are going to sort of sway up when you're happy, sway down when you're sad, and you're never going to hold yourself accountable. You're never going to have something you can look at and say, these are my goals right here. They don't change. You need to have your goals written down. You need to have your goals ready for action. Now, your daily actions, what are they? What do you do every day to advance your business? Did you develop a concrete plan? Do you intend to execute? Once you have your goals set down, then you can develop, your daily actions. What do you do every day? You make X amount of calls, knock X amount of doors, try to set up partnerships for an hour, send out emails for an hour, prospect on LinkedIn for an hour, check out Craigslist for an hour, go over and search your local organizations, contact them, try to get leads that way. There's so many different things you can do when you have a daily action plan that divides your day up and you say, I'm going to stick to this plan. I'm going to do these things for however many hours a day. And I'll tell you what, it also almost doesn't matter how many hours it is. You could work hard for 10 hours a week, or you could work stupid for 100 hours a week. But if you work hard and smart for 10 hours, you can get a lot done versus 100 hours stupid. So don't think that you just have to work hard and, everything is going to happen. You have to have a plan that's smart. You have to conduct actions that are gainful for your business. You put the two together, that's when real success really manifests itself. Now, over here, we've got your activities, right? You can obtain partnerships, which I've advocated very strongly. You can knock doors. You can attend events, local organizations. You can build relationships with people who become affiliates of yours and hand you business, hand you leads, and you give them a percentage if they close. You can build relationships with local businesses that sell services that are similar to yours, or they refer you business and you refer them business. You can cold call. You can respond to ads, respond to postings on Craigslist of people looking for these types of services, because they're out there. I guarantee you they are out there. Now, whatever you do, have a plan and work on that plan. Go through that. Go through the steps. Don't just go and sit there and expect that resting on your laurels, you're going to get a bunch of sales, because you're not. I want to see each and every one of you really succeed really well. Now I'm going to go through my final words here. This. Everything works to a degree. Cold calling works, door knocking works, partnerships work, event marketing works, combing around online works. All these things can work. Now, are they going to work equally well for everybody? No, because some of us are more confident when we're in person. Others are more confident on the phone. Others have better phone skills than other people. Other people have better interpersonal skills. Other people have a lot of tight relationships like with their community, and they're going to develop partnerships really easily. Some people love event marketing. There are people who live for that, and others who do not like it very much. Whatever it is you're good at, you're good at it. But it shouldn't, just because you're not good or not fantastic at some other thing, doesn't mean that you can't find something that works for you, because there's so many venues out there and so many methods. And all you have to do in this model, especially as pertains to SEO, is to basically get the person on the phone and let our team close them out. That there's no excuse, guys. You know, there's no excuse. You have a phone, you've got email, you have a website, you've got everything you need. You have the full credibility toolkit. You have at your disposal excellent resources. Go out there and make it happen. It's wonderful speaking to all you guys. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. Get out there. You know, guys, those of you in 3.0 who are on here, push SEO. Really, it's such a good service. If I were in your shoes and anybody's shoes on here, really, in 3.0, we give you all the tools necessary to do so well. And if I had that at my disposal, I think I'd be making more money than I am now by a long shot. So guys, go out there, go and push it hard. You're going to make money. Our closers have a 33.3% ratio. That means if you can scare up 3 leads a day, right? If you can do that 5 days a week, that's 5 sales a week, statistically speaking. Okay, maybe for some of you it's like 7 and others it's like 4. But the point is, you're going to have sales every week. Doesn't take very long making sales when they're recurring every single month being billed for you to have a really good book of business. And that's what I want to see you guys do. I want to see you guys go out there and make a lot of money. We put the tools in your hands. We can't swing the axe for you, but get out there and do some damage, guys. Anyhow, have a great evening. Goodbye, everybody.